In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to learn piano pieces 10 times faster with one practice method. This practice method is not only going to help you learn faster, it's also going to help you learn your pieces with less mistakes and more flow. Make sure you stick around for the entire video because I'm going to not only share this method with you, but then I'm going to share the 3 ways that you can use this method regardless of what piece you're working on and regardless of your level. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. I'm Ashley, and if you're not new, welcome back. Here at Ashley Young Music Studio, I'm all about helping you learn to practice smarter, not harder. Let's dive in. The method that's going to help you learn pieces 10 times faster is speaking out loud. Let's talk about what that means. But really quickly, before I explain that practice method, I wanted to let you know about a free sight reading class that I have available. In this class, you discover the 3 simple steps that you can take to sight read with more accuracy, more freedom, and flow every single time. After you're done watching this video, if you want to snag a copy of that free sight reading class, go ahead and find the link in the description below. So when it comes to speaking out loud, there are 3 main ways that you can do this with any piece of music. As I share these 3 ways that you can use speaking out loud in your piano practice, I'm going to show you with a real life example so that you can see how to apply it in your piano practice starting today. I'm going to be using Clementi's Sonatina Opus 36 No. 3 as an example. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's look at the very first measure of this piece. This is what it sounds like. And if you look at the sheet music, it would be easy enough to think, okay, I don't really need to count that. I can really clearly see visually where the notes line up, and you wouldn't necessarily have to count it in order to play the notes at the right time. But when it comes to rhythm, there's actually a lot more to rhythm than just getting the notes to hold for the correct value or to play at the right time. Counting out loud isn't just important to play these notes at the right time. It's important so that your brain knows exactly when and where the hands are playing in relation to each other. It's important because it creates structure and it allows all of the notes in the entire piece to fit into a cohesive structure that your brain can remember. So let's try it here. We would count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And we would do that several times in a row until it felt really easy. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And if you've never counted out loud, you might have to do this many times in a row. You might have to go even slower in order to get that counting to feel really comfortable. But ideally, speaking out loud, and in this application of it, counting out loud is something that you would do for the entire piece of music so that it gets into the deeper layers of memory and so that your hands know exactly when they need to play and where they need to be. That's going to lead to so much faster learning and so much more flow in your playing. The same actually works for this second application of speaking out loud. So the second application of speaking out loud is saying your finger numbers out loud. Now, in order to do this, you're going to need to be very clear on the fingering that you're using, and you're actually going to have to make some choices about what fingering you're using and write it in the music. This is going to be especially helpful for points in your piece where the pattern changes all of a sudden, or you're doing arpeggio patterns or scale patterns, but I actually suggest that you do it for the entire piece, especially in the earlier stages of learning your piece. Let's take a look. So let's just take a look at the right hand in measure 7. All of a sudden, the pattern changes and I'm doing these little, it's like a broken chord mixed with little scale passages in there. Now, ideally, when it's up to tempo, it would sound like this. So it's a really cool measure. But in order to get that, my fingers have to move pretty fast eventually, and I need to set them up for success by deciding on the fingering and saying it out loud. So I'm going to say 5, 3, 2, 1, 5, 3, 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. I'm going to do this many times in a row. 5, 3, 2, 1, 5, 3, 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, until it gets easy and until it's no longer a question of which fingers I'm using. It's second nature. And it's starting to get into my muscle memory, so my hands just remember which fingers to use. The third application of speaking out loud when you practice is saying the note names. You can do this in the very beginning stages of learning a piece. Obviously, you'll be doing this hands alone, where you actually just say the notes as you play. It's going to be really helpful to get all of the information into the deeper layers of your memory so that you learn faster and with more flow. But even if you're in the middle stages of learning a piece, you can still utilize this method to find where the holes are in your piece. So if you have a section in your music where all of a sudden like things get a little fuzzy and you know you always make a mistake in a certain section, break it down, hands alone, and start saying the notes out loud. And chances are you're gonna find a little place in that section where you can't say the notes out loud. And it's gonna become really clear to you that that is the spot that your brain is lacking enough information in order to be able to play it with freedom and flow. So saying notes out loud is really awesome because it helps you from the beginning stages, but you can do it at any point in the learning process. And it's also gonna help you diagnose exactly where the issues are. And then by saying the notes out loud and making your brain know the information, it's going to help you fix those issues. Measure 7, which we used in the last point, is the perfect spot to illustrate this point as well. So let's take a look at it. And because this section that we looked at in the last example is so tricky, we're gonna also say the notes out loud here. And if I do this from the beginning stages, it's going to help me learn it correctly from the very beginning. It's going to ensure that I'm not playing any wrong notes. When you're saying notes out loud, it's almost impossible for your brain to do something differently with your hands than what you're speaking out loud. Now, this is not going to work so well if I'm rushing or if I'm going fast. So you wanna make sure that you're going very slow at a tempo where you can really say the notes out loud and ensure that that's actually doing with your hand. So A, F, E, D, A, F, E, D, E, G, E, C, D, F, D, B. And again, I'm gonna do it so many times in a row that it's going to make it second nature. It's gonna come so easily and a little bit faster, but I'm not gonna focus on speed. I'm just gonna focus on doing it as many times in a row as it takes until it feels easy. A, F, E, D, A, F, E, D, E, G, E, C, D, F, D, B. Now, a lot of the times, piano players start to freak out when I tell them that I want them to speak the counting out loud, or the fingering out loud, or the notes out loud. And the first question they ask is like, oh my gosh, do you want me to do this for every single note in the entire piece? And to answer this, I would say use your discretion, but I want to leave you with a little bit of food for thought. What would happen if you did do it for the entire piece, for every single note in the entire piece? You knew the counting out loud, you could say the fingering out loud, and you could say the note names out loud. And I'll give you the answer. You would learn it 10 times faster. You would learn it so much faster. You would also learn it to such a higher level of quality because your brain and your hands would be communicating with each other so clearly that the likelihood of you making mistakes would go down significantly. This would mean that you were doing the same thing over and over and over in the same way, which is how your brain remembers things. Now, if you want another practice method that is going to take what I just taught you to the next level with speed, check out this other video that I did a few weeks ago where I share an additional practice method that's going to help you learn 10 times faster. I'm gonna link it here on the end screen. You can also snag that free sight reading class on the end screen. Happy practicing.